Hello learners! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, please consider subscribing so you don't miss anything. And for all of you that have been here with me, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, in today's video, I will be telling you some of those important elements you should incorporate in your proposal, or the things you should avoid actually. All right, then go away. And essays, but I'll be particularly referring to your proposal. For those of you writing a research proposal, maybe for a master's dissertation project or for getting into a university for a doctoral study. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video, please watch it, okay? I've covered the introductory part of your proposal, so it'll be a good place to start. But just a quick recap. We covered the aim of the research. You want to be very succinct. That's give a good summary of the core focus of your research. And it can cover the context. By that I mean your sector or the country or the industry you're looking at. And it could also cover the method. So you could say qualitative study off, quantitative study off, just briefly. All right. So for every introduction, like we said before, you need to signpost to tell us what the scope of that paper is. Think about your introductory section like a menu. You go into a restaurant, they give you a list of what you expect or what you can pick from. But for this particular, introductory section, you're the one telling your reader what to expect. So you make that really clear. Fantastic. Your research objectives, like we said previously, you need to use those keywords to identify, to evaluate, to explore, to investigate. Use the relevant word and, of course, tell us those objectives that are aligned to your research aim. Okay, so there has to be a connection. Your research proposal is a story. Okay, so you can't say, for example, you want to investigate the challenges women face in the workplace, and your research objective is telling us about how fantastic a particular company is. That may be fancy, but it's not really relevant because it's not well connected to your research aim. Okay, so if you're looking at challenges of women, you should be talking more about the issues women face at work. If it's a particular industry, your focus should also be in that industry. Within your literature review, however, you can cover a particular subject matter more broadly. So, for example, if you're looking at work-life balance, you can talk about the different theories and concepts around work-life balance more broadly. Fantastic. So that's for introduction and objective. Like I said, your proposal is like a story, so you need to include all those relevant sections. Let's assume you've gotten that all in the bag. What are the key things that you need to do to get your proposal to that place where you want it to be? You want to make it a masterpiece. You want it to be, of a good standard. Some tips to be aware of. First, you would have paraphrased really well when you're doing your literature review. Paraphrasing is important. One, to reduce your plagiarism score. So the UK uses a system known as Turnitin. It's connected to, it has several sources and databases and can really pick out certain keywords or general words if they have been repeated or probably copied from a different source and pasted without paraphrasing. So that's important. How do you paraphrase? Oftentimes, especially for international students, some of the mistakes you make is just changing one word, but that's not enough. You need to change the word, you could change the form, you could change the order. So rather than just changing, maybe giving a synonym for one word, you could move from a passive voice to an active voice or an active voice to a passive voice. So take, for example, if you were to change something like, she has a big problem. If you decide to just change one word and maybe you want to use a synonym of big, you could say large, but you will actually be concerned because large may not fit in really well. So you could, instead of saying she has a large problem, which doesn't make total grammatical sense now, does it? You could actually say she doesn't have a minor issue. Okay, so using different words but keeping the same idea. That's what paraphrasing is all about. And then you can change, like I said, from the active to the passive voice. The active voice, for example, she ate the bowl of rice. We're concerned about someone doing something. Passive voice, we're concerned about what was done. The bowl of rice was eaten. The food was eaten, basically. All right. So these are ways you could do it, and you could also nominalize your sentences. So changing from the verb form to the noun form. Okay. She produces 400 tons of whatever a day. The level of production for ABCD company is really high, 400 and, that kind of, so from producers to production, for example. Right, another issue I notice is paragraphs. A lot of students have disproportionate paragraphs. It could be maybe a full paragraph within one page, just have one paragraph for one page, and then you go on to the next page and you've got like 7 different paragraphs, short, small bits here and there. Not good enough. Okay, so you need to ensure that they have proportional lengths. And some of the concerns perhaps is how to actually connect your ideas. Yes, the idea behind having that long paragraph is to ensure that what you're saying is, connected in a sense. And I kind of understand that, but that's not good enough because you need to split it up to be of proportional lengths. So consider using certain keywords. For example, therefore, besides, nonetheless, however, similarly. These key connecting words can really help you to flow. And obviously, they have their own purposes. If you're contrasting, you could say, on the other hand, however, nonetheless, albeit and what have you. If you are saying, maybe you're referring to authors that have similar ideas, you could use keywords like similarly, in addition, furthermore, those kinds of connecting words. And look up some of them will be on Manchester Phrase Bank, so a good resource there. And I think I put up the link in the previous video as well. Short forms. Most of you couldn't, shouldn't, isn't, didn't, ain't. Avoid those short forms. Write your words in full. It's not, did not, should not, could not, and what have you. All right. So remember, your proposal should be telling one story from start to finish. I noticed some students in the method section will say something like, oh, qualitative methodology is a great method because it will enable me to collect in-depth data using interviewing technique. And then in the next breath, in the next section, they're saying this study focuses on using a questionnaire to collect quantitative data. And you're leaving your examiner wondering, hold on a second. The other minute you just said qualitative is the best method for your research. And right here, you're telling us you're doing a quantitative study. Why? So now, you could potentially argue that a qualitative methodology is great. However, you're using a quantitative method because, and you give a good reason, and say perhaps there is this weakness there or something that a qualitative can't do for you. Hence, you're using the quantitative method. And the difference is qualitative is more aligned to like using of interviewing technique, focus groups, case studies, more like the word qualitative, so based more on in-depth word-based analysis, thematic analysis. Whereas we have the quantitative, which is more aligned to measurements, statistics, okay, maths, measurements, really, quantity, okay. So yes, you need to be critical. You could tell us why a particular methodology is better for you, and you could also tell us, that there are certain weaknesses, but tell us really why those weaknesses will not limit the reliability or validity of your research. Good stuff. So tell the right story. There should be a flow of ideas throughout. Some of you forget to include a concluding section. Please do, you need to conclude. Now, these are general tips, but obviously for each institution, there may be a different format on how you should go about it. So please do take into consideration your assessment rubric or indicative content or assessment brief or guidelines or, whatever it's called. Okay. Right, for your literature review, most of you don't write critically. You're overly descriptive. According to this said, that said. You want to think deeper. Maybe you've read two or three different authors and they said two different things or similar things. What does that imply? Okay, what's different about this one compared to the other? If there's a difference, could it be the place or the time when the study was conducted? And think about those. So you need to synthesize, bring ideas together. You need to evaluate what are the weaknesses, what are the strengths, make a judgment of what you're reading, to put it simply. Okay? Right. Referencing. Okay, this is interesting. So let's assume that Frederick Leonard wrote a piece of work. When you have in your in-text citation, you shouldn't have Leonard, comma, F. You don't need initials. You just need to have Leonard, comma, the dates. And again, it depends on the referencing style of your university. Some universities use Harvard and some use APA style. So you need to be conversant with which one you are required to use. So let's assume it's APA style, maybe APA 7th. You can have Leonard, comma, 2022. Okay, so you don't need the F. Now, if you have multiple authors, some may require you to just have surname, et al, dot, comma, and the year once you have more than two authors, whereas some referencing style will require that you have three or you mention all the authors the first time around before carrying on with the first author's surname and the year. So just be aware of those dynamics for your own institution. That is also very, very important. Okay, good stuff. With your signposting, I also noticed some students do have definitions. So a literature review is when you review the literature for this particular topic. You don't need to do that, okay? It's really, really interesting, but you don't need to do that because your examiners already know what a literature review is. You could just go on and say that this section focuses on the review of ABCD theory in XYZ company, all right? So just apply rather than defining in your introductory section. You could just go right ahead and let us know what to expect for that particular piece of work. Good stuff. Overall, once you have all of these bits and bobs, I think you should be fine. Don't forget to format properly. I do suggest having your paragraphs properly justified and also consider proofreading. In fact, proofread your work. Because sometimes you may have something on your mind that you think you're saying, but you've written something else. Especially be particularly careful with homophones. You know those words that sound alike but mean different things? There and there, you know, those kind of words. Just be careful. So that's the essence of proofreading. And Grammarly.com is also a good resource to help you sort that out. I'm sure there are other key questions and concerns that you have. So please do leave your comments in the section below. I'll see you in my next video and I'll see you in the comment section and you'll see me in my next video. All right. So these are some basic tips. Obviously not all of it, but as we go along, I'll be covering so many different topics. So if you haven't subscribed, girl, what are you waiting for? All right. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Take care. Bye.